Marfoogle TV going live in 3. Live in 3. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. I, again, am going to go right into this, and we're going to go over some really insane stuff today. Of course, Trump suggests U.S. troops could return to a base in Afghanistan, citing its proximity to China. If the signs aren't clear enough, and by now, if you have not figured out that we are going to go to war with not only China, but with Russia, with North Korea, with Iran, with Venezuela, then again, this should be another kind of eye-opener for most of you. Now, I know all of you guys are on the same page, or if you've disagreed for years, and we get along anyways. President Donald Trump on Thursday suggested he is working to reestablish a U.S. presence at Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan 4 years after America's chaotic withdrawal from the country left the base in the Taliban's hands. One of the worst pullouts, it is pretty agreed that both sides of the aisle said it was pretty horrid. It actually set a precedent, and I actually just watched a very interesting video with an actual intelligence agent that was talking about it, and surprisingly enough, he basically trashed the former president, even though he was on the same side, and he essentially said that this was something that started a whole domino effect with China, Russia, and every other country because of how we pulled out, because we left $700 million worth of stuff there. We left Blackhawks, and I don't know if we left an Apache. I don't think so, but we left Humvees, we left Hummers, we left APCs, all sorts of gear, rocket launchers, just the whole plethora, to the point where we're almost a laughingstock. I mean, you had Taliban spinning around, barely learning how to actually fly a Black Hawk on their own. I mean, that's just stupid, okay? So to put these guys back, this is a big deal. It's obviously going to get pushed back, but this says something that obviously they are preparing, and they're putting the people in the proximity of China. It says, we are trying to get it back. Trump floated the idea during a press conference with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer as he wrapped up his state visit to the UK, and tied it to the need for the US to counter its top rival. I mean, don't you find this a little strange? Like, everybody is focused on, of course, Kirk, which horrible event this whole week. That is what has taken up 95% of the videos on every platform. You know, you've got all of these other events, but nobody's really paying attention to the fact that we have all of our Navy down by Venezuela. We have our Navy meeting out and looking at the Chinese frickin' Navy that keeps moving closer and closer, passing lines it's never passed before. You've got Israel and Iran at their heating point, with Israel now taking the Strip and Gaza. You have Venezuela. There's actually news tonight we're going to talk about here in a minute, getting everything ready. This is what World War III looks like. So this is a big deal. We're going to talk about this and much, much more. And I'm going to talk directly to my friend, and hopefully he's watching tonight, Harley Man, not to be confused with any of our people in chat, but about fear-mongering. I want to talk to my friend specifically. If it was somebody on chat or trolling or a comment, I haven't responded in like 5 years. But I'm going to talk about that because I know you guys are getting that as well. We'll be right back right after this. There we go. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. Sorry, you guys. We had Streamlabs had to update right before the freaking show. So every time something changes, anything changes, I get frazzled. So thank you guys for joining us. Thank you. Dauntless says this is what World War III looks like. Now, I do want to clarify. World War II was World War II before they labeled it. And also, there were a lot of actions that happened before World War II. When we were sitting there doing an embargo on Japan, stopping oil from going there, that felt to a lot of people like we were in something, but there was no physical death from it yet, right? We weren't bombing each other, weren't shooting each other. The World War II, technically, the history of it goes back way before the embargo. So if you're looking at right now, look at the same kinds of actions, even the what I think is decoupling from China, the tariffs, all of these things are made to stop wars. The Russia, the India tariff to actually put a tariff on him for buying oil, that's all to try to stop the war. And then, of course, China, this huge, the 150% that was there, the tariff, that whole, fiasco was a big, big deal. Now, I want to talk about, the fact that most of us, we have people that just completely doubt in their 9-to-5 world, everything is fine. Everything is peachy. The world is turning. The electricity is going. Everything is fine. And they highly doubt. And I think that there's a baked-in pride in the United States that we believe that we are untouchable. And I think that is something that the enemies have known. And they've spent 4-5 decades figuring out ways to essentially, undo that. So let's bring in my co-internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Fugle fam. I'm doing just fine.
What is sad is, so to my friend, Harley Man, he was saying, well, man, it looks like you do a lot of, fear-mongering. And he judges it by the titles and the thing. And I'm not judging. He was joking with me, right? But I want to point this out. And I'm saying this to you guys as well, because it's something that I try to clarify every few years. We are a lot better than some of these channels that just straight up say the crazy claims. We try to back up all of our stuff. Well, we do back up all of our stuff with the source and a bibliography. But as far as what I am saying, I 1,000% believe it. And I am sort of roboted into YouTube mode. So, hey, it's Adam A.K. Marf. So people don't believe it. And I don't blame you. We were talking about somebody, we won't mention his name because it's mean, somebody on the right that reminds them of a used car salesman or whatever. I could see myself having that. I've been in sales my entire life. So when somebody looks at that, they don't believe it and they don't trust it. And I don't blame you. But what I will say is I believe this, and this is not something that when it happens, I'm going to say, I told you so. I'm going to be scared, pardon my friend, shitless. I am going to be absolutely terrified when this happens, and I do believe it's going to happen. I'm even worried right now. I've been worried over the last week since Kirk. I've been worried I have enough. And here's the thing. I've told you guys this many times, and I told Harley Man this yesterday. When you have a high-ranking official that's way up there, So let's just say this: there's some guy that's maybe a government contractor or something. He says, we should prepare. I think war's coming soon. Most people aren't going to go, oh yeah, wow, that's really interesting, and then go and buy a bunch of stuff. But if you are at a barbecue and you've got some super high-ranking general, admiral, somebody like that, and they say, you've got this much time, you need to prepare, everybody at that freaking party would leave there, be figuring out their finances to try to buy stuff. Why? Because it's that position of authority. It's that they know that dude knows something. I'm not saying I know something. I'm not by the way, and I didn't say it before CV, but I know people that do know stuff. And you guys can verify this. And this is the other thing. People don't realize we had a Discord in all 50 states, which I will give full credit to a list of people that there was all sorts of people that helped out with it. Mostly our mods. Ilea did a lot. All sorts of people did stuff with that. We had groups meeting in person. And I just want to reiterate this. This is how crazy this is. The U.S. government had a part in shutting down our Discord because of the people that were meeting and gathering. As you guys know, that people like this and homesteaders and any kind of patriot setting, they are now, at least for the last 4 years, they were looked at as, if you go back to that time period, everybody was getting shut off, Discords were getting closed down, and it was during this whole time where it was totally race-driven, and these guys are protesting, and then ours got shut down. We never shared a single thing on our Discord. We got that permanently taken away, like lifetime ban type of thing. And it was for supposedly what people were sharing in a couple of the groups. But we had mods. There was nothing there other than just different conspiracies they were sharing or videos or maybe other YouTube videos. People were sharing and coordinating. This is where I think that it went wrong, is when people started meeting all over the country in all 50 states. And we had groups, and every Saturday and Sunday, I would basically sit on Zoom and talk with all these groups. Some of you may be here that talk to me on Zoom on a Saturday and Sunday. Saturday and Sunday, I set aside for the Fugel fam, and I would sit there for 9 hours, 1 hour at one barbecue, 1 hour another, and I was talking to people. And we really did have a lot of direction back then. So if you're watching the show just thinking that we're just reading articles, I'm trying to warn people. I believe that this is not only going to happen, it's going to happen soon. And if you know me, for 9 years, I've said World War III is coming, but I have not told you it's coming soon. I have never done that. You can't go back to a single video in 8 or 9 years and say that I've put a date out there unless it's on October 3rd, the government says beware. Then, yeah, I'll tell you October 3rd. Or, there's an alert going out on this day. But I don't say in next week the world's going to end. There are people like that. And they do it repeatedly and repeatedly. And surprisingly, most people go, oh, I'm never going to see that guy again. I'm never going to watch that channel again. Some people watch it over and over and over again, even though you see these people totally lying, making up crap. They just keep watching it. People say, oh, you do this stuff for the views or whatever. Can some people that have been here for a long time, can you guys verify? Our sub count's been the same for about 5, 6, 7 years, but we still have the same amount of people or even more come every night. It doesn't make sense. Then you see channels that are into the millions just grow and just keep growing, and they can say whatever they want, talk about V's, talk about this, talk about that. And people don't suspect that. If you're over the target, you get censored, you get shut down, you get hit. And remember, we were on D-Live for 30 days. You know why? We got a strike and we got shut down. We didn't just get shut down. We got shut down from live for 30 days. Now it's like a week warning, and I don't even know if that would have been the case even back then, because they were basically tearing us down. I want to say this because I want you guys to know how important this is to me. And I really, on a side note, I do believe that I'm helping. That is what wakes me up every day. That is what makes me excited to do the show. I believe I am helping people. And I know this because when CV happened in 2019, I saw all of these weird things. And it's not just me, it's our community. And there's a select few that catch these things and we're like, this is not right. It's not just intuition. If you tell somebody intuition, then they'll go, oh yeah, you can read the future. No. If you pay attention, you read every single news story, just like these notes that were left by Tyler Robinson to his roommate. When people read that, they can tell it's BS. I'm sorry, and it's not confirmed yet. When you read that, it's just weird. It answers all of the questions that are put out there. Things like that, people like myself and others can see right through that. And they understand because they watch all the news. To somebody who's 9-to-5 job, they come home and watch 10 minutes of news. They see that. My wife didn't know anything about the Kirk thing other than he perished. She saw that the day. But she didn't see any coverage of how it happened, how he jumped off, any of that. She read the narrative and go, oh, that totally sounds like it would make sense. But that's the thing. Right now, if we have a civil conflict, and again, two times in 2 days, our president has had a weird issue with somebody almost crashing into his plane, and then today had to do an emergency landing of his helicopter. Are people waking up yet? When this is all... Dex, I want to bring you in here for a second because this is just like, are people really waking up to this? If we have a civil war, how much better would this be if China takes Taiwan, Russia ends up pushing in on Ukraine, Venezuela, Guyana, Israel and Iran, and then North Korea and South Korea? How much of a help would that be if not only our big military split up between two major peer-to-peer adversaries, but we also have a civil conflict and something going down here? Do you think that would help or hurt?
Well, of course, it'll limit our resources. Add to it something from South America coming up, either to our border or to our waters. Yeah.
And I explained to Harley Man last night. So if I put a thumbnail and says, Jimmy Kimmel gets his pants on this morning, nobody's going to click that. Here's the thing. Inside these videos, and I don't do like super clickbait, like, oh my gosh, he's going, we make it relevant to the story that is in the show or one of the stories and is usually the most important one. And we also do the title to engage you and to get you in. But once you're in the door, you meet this awesome community that actually cares about people. And you understand that there's a lot more people that are just like you. And I think that we're kind of like this little tiny thing where it's like we're slowly bringing in these people that are seeing this, right? And that's a net. So once you come in and you realize that this is happening, you start prepping, but you also tell your family member, your sister, your brother, and then that brother slowly gets prepared. And then that brother tells somebody. It's like a growing net of people that are preparing around the country. Because guess what? The country's not telling us to get prepared. The retail's not telling us to get prepared. They're telling us everything's fine, everything's going to be okay. It's not. And if you think that the views, that people don't even know how YouTube works. They think that if I get a bunch of subscribers, that just pays me money. First of all, views are based off of so many different things. I'm not going to bore you with it. But it is not the same for everybody. It is literally different for every single creator. Look it up. We are a very small niche. So with this is something where we're not doing the things for clicks. We're not doing this for views. The views never go up. I could put porno on the frickin' cover. It wouldn't go up. So the main point is I want you guys to understand how serious I am about this and how much I do care about the people I've met in the last 10 years. The people I talk to on the phone on a near daily basis, mods and people that I genuinely care about their families and their well-being. So when people, it does bother me. Any YouTuber in this niche would be, and some, they are fear-mongering. Like they'll say, oh my God, within 3 days. I don't know if you guys have noted, I think people don't know the difference. Like scalpers, right? If you buy a Lego and hold on to it for 10 years and somebody says, man, you're charging 3 times what it was originally, you're a scalper. No, you're not. You bought it 10 years ago when it was readily available, held on to it for 10 years, and then sold it. You're not a scalper. You're somebody who invested in it and spent 10 years and let your money sit somewhere. Same thing with this fear-mongering is like somebody literally saying you need to go out and buy this now because this is going to happen tomorrow. It's going to happen. I have a feeling it's going to happen tomorrow. And then gullible people just go, oh my God. And they literally, some people have sold their houses because of different creators, sold their houses. And that's why I use that example. There are people that have done that kind of stuff. They sold their houses. They cashed in their 401k. They bought pallets and pallets of food all at once. And then they broke themselves. You are watching what we are watching. You are going to see the pattern. It's just putting in the time. Most of you watch every night, and the most of you that do watch every night, you're either here for one or two reasons, or three reasons. You're here for me, you're here for Dex, or you're here for the community. Because there's a lot of people that don't like me, might not even like Dex, but like our community and feel welcome here and feel like there's a home and people that care about them. But as far as like what we are doing here, I do believe there's an importance to it. And I do believe that people have gotten ready. During CV, I knew that was going to happen. And people, you called it, right? Yeah, it's kind of a big deal. Because we saw the same kind of patterns, follow the money, follow the studies, follow this. I was screaming about it. It's still on YouTube. 5 months of saying there's a pandemic coming. And then it happened. I didn't have a crystal ball. I had eyes and I could see. There's no way that every single country in the world is preparing for World War III and then it's just going to fizzle last second. You think like it's a video game and go, shutting down. No, you know what? Psych, we're not going to do this. It's going to happen. Somebody could say it's fear-mongering to talk about EMP, right? But EMP is literally one of the main things and one of our main vulnerabilities. We don't have many. Think about that. The United States does not have many vulnerabilities. EMP is a huge, giant one. So much so that our enemies have literally all come up with a super EMP weapon. Most of them have satellites that go over us that could deliver it. Most of them are coming up with weapons that can come around and defeat our defenses to do an EMP. Once you knock down the power, you knock down everything. We are in disarray. They kick off with all sorts of things, and they already have people here. This is the other thing I believe. They have people here. All of these countries already have people. And when you say sleeper cell, people think, oh, it's not a James Bond movie. No, it's an army. It's an army of regular soldiers that have orders, go here. And you know how crazy it is that it was set up so it doesn't matter where they were from, that when they got here, people were on the payroll in our administration. This is also my belief, not fact. To the point where they got here, they might even get a ride to a hotel, get a sleeping bag, get a room to sit in and set up their weapons, and get food and get paid and get, all of these different benefits, all in the last 4 years. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of these bad guys. Now, they say millions and millions, but I think the bad guys, the really bad guys, like these are armies from other countries that have come over here. Muckraker went down to the southern border, got video of 50 in a row. Chinese gentlemen, 18 to 25-year-old, buzz cuts, fatigues on half of them. And you think that those are just guys trying to look for a better life? For what? Their 23-year-old wife at home that they need to buy 2 properties for just to prove to the family that they can afford them, and they come here? I don't think so. No. Thank you, Amarillo Gun Runners. I appreciate that. No, I don't think your program is the definition of news. I actually think that Dex and I were just talking about this, and I would love for you guys to give feedback. I know that people want callers back. It's come to a turning point because I just moved, and moving changes your life. It changes everything. We're in a home that we may be in until we die, right? And we're lucky to have it because we were getting priced out of where we live, and we have all of our family here. But it changes things. And with this show, when I hear comments like that, I think that there's a lot of things, people search the name and then they get the BS or they get false, fake stuff. I want you guys to remember, if you were around that time, do you remember how much hate and how much just commotion we caused? Why did we cause so much commotion? Now that we're stopped and stunted, there's no commotion. I don't get it. And even the people that were causing the commotion, if they are legit people and not trying to cause something, aren't you seeing? Like, if you really think that we're CIA shills or whatever, you would think that CIA would work with like YouTube and try to get us to have millions of subscribers and allow us to speak about whatever agenda they wanted on the plate that day. That would be something we could do. Some of the carefulness is on our end because it really, really hurt. That 30 days going over to DLive, it was horrible. I almost went, I almost went and closed the channel. I was so pissed off at YouTube, and they closed this down for the stupidest reason. I can't even remember what it was. Oh, put Fantastic Freddy, that's where that word came from, with the David Hogg thing. Which I don't say that in, but, false this. Put that in a title once, 30 days without my show. It was horrible. All of this stuff that's happened over the last few years, all of it, literally all of it, has had a predictor before. So when you're telling your friends and family, I would tell them with conviction that they need to get ready soon. But I would also say, hey, if you do want to learn, I'll sit here for hours showing you this stuff. Because I guarantee you they're not seeing 98% of the stories that we've followed here every single day. They might think they watch Fox News or they watch CNN and they get all of it. They're not. It's not aggregated all, and it's also not grabbing the stuff that's actually relevant in every country in the world. That's what we have collected here every single day, 5 days a week, or not every single day, 5 days a week for years. And when you go to that, you will actually see a very clear and obvious path towards World War III. 8 years ago, it was on its way. 5 years ago, it was on its way. Right now, it's here. This is what it looks like when you have countries meeting separately in giant groups, one versus the other. When you have outcasts all of a sudden put to the side of, peer-to-peer adversaries like Kim Jong-un, now he's a peer now to them. Now he just declared, I'm a nuclear power and you're never going to do anything about it. He is now in the same category in some opinion. So now we have 3 peer-to-peer adversaries by some accounts, right? And then we have all of these other guys jumping on. All the people that the United States might have regime changed or screwed over the years. All of this is happening. And the people that suffer are the patriots and the people that actually care about the United States, its Constitution, everything that is falling apart right now. So when you look at events like Kirk and why that every single person, nobody can agree on anything with the Kirk case. Nobody can agree that everything is just straight up how they say it. It's just strange. And if you don't believe me, there might be a couple people here that say, oh no, I think it is exactly how they say. But you go online, if those are 6,000 Russian or Chinese bots, then that should be a sign to you that they are trying to start a civil conflict. We have Jimmy Kimmel taken off the air after Colbert. That itself is all they're talking about at CNN. They're just rotating it in and out and saying that he can't shut him down. And I actually agree with that. I told you guys this. I actually agree with the statement that he shouldn't have, the disgusting comments he said should have probably got him a fine or something, right? But I don't think he should have been shut down. That Kimmel thing's to piss off the left. It's to get people talking and just infuriated. The Charlie Kirk thing, in my opinion, is on top of many other reasons why they would want to take him out with his influence and the way he converted young people. But there's a lot more there. I do believe that they are trying to start something and pop something off. So my timeline of 6 to 9 months I'm worried that it's going to move up. And I honestly do, and I really, really hope that all of you are praying that this doesn't happen and that I'm wrong and that people can make fun of me and make videos and say, this idiot thought that there was going to be a war. I really hope that happens. Dex, the other thing that people don't know is how serious you are about this and helping people and getting people ready to survive anything. And both you and me, the years ago when we met, the thing we both agreed upon is that this is coming, and we're not stupid people. We can see it a million miles away, and it's kind of hard to understand that people don't.
The world lives in a cycle. We've always had war. We've always been in war. Our country's always been in war, so it's coming. Whether or not it's the end of the world, that's probably to be debated. But it's to think that we're not going to get ourselves involved in yet another conflict, even though we're doing it now in a proxy level in Ukraine, and but to think that we're not going to get into something bigger again. As much as our current president likes to tout that he's all about not going to war, the rest of the world's ready for war. And so, yeah, it feels very much like we're about to hit that cycle again. And we go in and out of world wars. The globe does. The whole, planet does. It happens.
And it is not the end of the world. People, and that goes back to the old days when we did have it was, I want to choose the right word. Dedicated, hatred. I don't want it back, but at the same time, when you're making waves, at least you know that people are seeing them. I hope that you guys. I wish I could change and make my. I guess I wish I could change and make this add as much value as possible, but always have that underlining warning, which I believe. People say, oh, it's just to sell the affiliate stuff. The affiliates help us survive. But the affiliates haven't changed. They haven't rotated out. They haven't been 50 million different things. They haven't been ball shavers. And by the way, I have a friend on YouTube that sells them, and they sell like crazy. I don't know. You tell us. Should we sell ball shavers? Would you buy one? Because honestly, I have had so many companies offer to have their stuff sold on this thing. I have had probably 4 or 5 Chinese solar power generator companies. I'm not going to sell that. All of the stuff that we do, but the problem with the affiliates is that, or even ads in general, is it takes away that leaves the door open. And this is why I liked it. For the first 2 years, I didn't take a single penny, and I didn't have monetization. What I miss about that is I could sit there and literally say, I don't make $1 from this. And there was a trust there. Unfortunately, I have 4 kids. I started the show with 1. So it's a little bit different now. And it's not, people on YouTube don't make millions of dollars. Even the bigger ones, it depends on what if they have a general audience, then it's they get 100 times less than, say, an audience with a smaller niche. So like a Jake Paul or a Logan Paul, they have everybody and their mom from 1 to 100. So they get a different amount per 1,000 views than, say, somebody who does camera reviews and only camera reviews. But I'll say this, I do miss that, and I do miss the Fugel fam. I miss the camaraderie. I miss a lot of it. I miss the call-ins. I miss the random people. I miss communicating with you guys. So people say, oh, it's just easy. Have call-ins back. For 4 years, you have the wrong thing called in. Your show's done. You are over, and you're just gone. And unfortunately, I have a family. And I could, and I don't know, most of you know this, but for 1.5 years, other jobs. Dex has 2 do you have 3 jobs now, Dex?
4.
4. Most I've had is 2. Not including this, so 3. So people on YouTube don't make millions of dollars. People, I would employ anybody to add up every single super we get over a month. You won't see enough to be like, oh, the world's going to end. I want to get this out because most of you that are here and you have been here for years understand this. It's like go time right now. This is real deal Holyfield stuff. And most of you have known it. You guys already know it. I don't have to tell you. But you've experienced this same kind of attitude. Like these are people that follow the general stuff. They'll watch the Fox News. They'll listen to the radio. Oh, yeah. And they kind of believe. But when you have been following this for years and everything that is very obvious from 4 years ago, you're like, oh, I bet you in about a year that this is going to this. And then it does that. People read the article from the stuff that happens that day and they're like, oh, wow, that happened. People that, watched the setup for it a year before that, we know. Right now, they're being set up, just like with CV in 2019, we are being set up in the same way. They're doing the simulations. They're doing all of these things. They're doing the exact same playbook, only a different scenario and on a way bigger scale. They are drilling in drilling in cities all over the country. We've covered this. If you haven't noticed all of those nuclear suit drills they've been doing in New York and over here and over there, and I mean it's really crazy. All of the folks that send us the list for the actors for basically drills and exercises, that has just like blown up over the last 2 years. We have to get to more people, and we're not going to. But I'm so happy I got to the people that we did, because I think if we did, we would probably get shut down. So you guys are my fam. And I guess I'm sorry for not being 100% authentic sometimes when I turn into the robot host and read news. I don't want to read news. I want to be a part of it. And it does bother me. The whole move, 3 weeks without working out of a month, it was bad. I had so much hope and I was so happy that whole time, though. I was so excited to get this thing up. And I truly, for 3 weeks, I missed you guys. I missed my friends. I missed the people that I have grown to know. Even chat names, I've never seen a picture of them. I know their general personality because I've seen them in chat for 8 years. That's crazy to me. That's something no other generation would have ever experienced. And it is an insight into like what YouTube is like. It's not magical unless you are into the millions. And when I see into the millions and I'm like, how are they able to do all of this? That should make you question everything that comes out. And I've never been the person that points at everybody like, these guys are that, these guys are that. I would be very, very careful and understand, why aren't they having the rules enforced with them? People tell me like, oh, these guys can say this, these guys can say that. They have multi-channel networks, which we also don't do. People, by the way, when I first started, I never understood people. So, oh, they're a multi-channel network, like it was a CIA thing. Multi-channel network is just an advertising company that takes 10% that lines up advertising stuff like, a product every single day or every spot. And and they protect you. If you get knocked off of YouTube or whatever, they can actually call somebody and get a hold of somebody. That's about it for 10% of your overall earnings. And when you don't make much, it's kind of hard to do something like that. But the multi-channel networks, everybody was like, oh, here's an MCN. Like it's some sort of evil thing. It's just it's a business thing. But we don't have that. We don't have any of that. We have you guys. And we mean that. Like you guys are the heart of this. When I first started it was viewer-powered news. And I am absolutely looking for you guys to be a part of this. We are the Jams channel. We are most likely going to convert that into something and then convert another one into Jams. We might try to start fresh or something to get it going. And when that happens, I hope that I can call on you guys to help us. Because I truly believe we need to reach more people. And I'm not going to sit up here every day on a pedestal saying I'm trying to save lives. You guys know I pretty much, most people know how I am by what I do say and what I don't say. It doesn't mean I'm perfect. I'm not an angel. I stub my toe and I drop the F-bomb. But I do care. I do worry, and I do actually have solace in the friends I've met around here. And like, I'm hoping that we have enough friends that if we don't have enough, that we have a couple of groups of people that are getting prepared too, that we'll be able to kind of, back to back, face the world. Because I think it's going to be really bad. I think it's going to be at least a couple months without power, is my guess. And to see the sheer amount of people that are not prepared for what's coming is unbelievable. And every time we get somebody, oh, it's all fear-mongering. For what? For what reason? You're right. We are trying to engage you and get you to come to our show. Really, the 5 days a week is just giving you the news rundown. There are important videos mixed in with those where there are warnings. Some days it's just the news, and we're literally covering what comes out. Some days the news is slow. But that doesn't change anything. This is a community, and you guys are a part of it. And I would love feedback. I would love ideas. Like, you could say, just go back to call-ins. We're going to try to do some sort of mix of something, but also understand where we are. It's like having your feet in cement. It's just insane. And people use other channels as a judge. You can't. You can't without selling out. So it's like one or the other, right? It's kind of like a music artist that's, finally signs with the label, and everybody loved them because they were independent to the, down to the bone. And then they sign with the label. Is that worth the money? No. But what I will say is I think it will be worth it for especially all of us when we understand that this is happening. I'm not guessing it's happening. I believe 1,000% this is happening right now. And if I say that, people will go, you said there was going to be a war. You said the world's going to end 5 days. I'm not. I don't think we'll ever go to nuke on nuke. But I do think that this is going down, and I think that the playbook is super visible, and I hope that you guys see it too. If you don't see it, then hang around longer, spend more time with us, and really try to be discerning about what we are reading and the reason why we are reading the ones we are. When people have said that we cherry pick. Oh, well, if you look for an EMP story every day, you'll get it. Or if you look for this story, you'll get it. That's what's relevant, because we 1,000% believe that's what we need to prepare you for. And some will look at that and be like, oh, they're crazy. They think that this isn't an end of the world. This is a confrontation with other peer-to-peer adversaries. It is something that has happened so many times before. History is repeating itself. Get ready for it. Every other country is telling their people to prepare, but for some reason, our dumbass country is not. Because they want you to go to your 9 to 5. They want you to keep paying your credit card bills. They want you to keep paying your taxes. They want you to keep acting as normal. So they can manipulate you, sympathize with you, empathize with you, and then crush you. Track you, trace you, monitor you, and get you to essentially build their empire. That's just kind of my half belief there. So I don't know how many of you guys agree, and if you disagree, that's fine. I hope you still enjoy the Fugel fam. I hope even if you hate me and Dex, and you hate just us in general, and you love the community, I hope you stay forever for Ilea or Bobby Sue or Jammer or any of the awesome Fugel fam like WizGen. Because there's not very many places. During CV, we were all locked up. So a lot of people got into this. Now there's just an explosion of everybody going like, oh, did you see the guy's eye blinks? He might be a lizard. Oh, do you see 3 plus this is that? It's everywhere now. But you guys were the OGs. You were here from the beginning. And I will tell you this. we stick to our weapons. We don't veer off. We don't just go with the fads. We believe this is a long-term event. It's going to happen. So I hope that clears up stuff. For my friend Harley, man, I really wish that I wish anybody like that would give me 5 or 6 hours. And I have spent it. I've spent it 5 or 6 hours showing people article after article after article, because I do this every day, and we have the website with our archive. I can literally remember all of these things, and they all tie together. They all, if you look back in history to the pieces then, they all had a setup for the pieces now. The pieces now have a sign of something more. The drills and the exercises that they're doing, all the things that they are saying, all of the guesses by these prominent people that it's syndicated and goes everywhere, that's planting a seed in everybody's head, letting people know that this is going to happen. Watching the president and go into a secret door meeting, come out and immediately go, we need to harden our grid. That should tell you that you should probably prepare for something, because the government isn't. So yeah, that's my rant and rave. We got to get through the news. Thank you so much, Julia Withers. I followed you since Discord days. I think it was the Jade Helm coverage that got you kicked off. Dex, well, no, we covered Jade Helm before that. I feel like it was around that same time.
Yeah, it was, Jade Helm was way before we got kicked off.
Yeah, that was 2015. Do you remember the actual video? It was Hog, right? I think it was Hog. Were you even with me then? You were with me.
I believe so.
Yeah. But yeah, so those days, we can't go back to the exact same channel we were, but we can morph into something new that you guys all help us build. So leave your comments. Be dedicated. Actually be dedicated to bring people in. We could have another community. I'm not opposed to doing things, but there's downsides to everything. The Discord, it did cause problems. It had these beautiful miracles like people meeting in every state, but then it had these arguments and people that disagreed, and their full-on cat fight, tearing tufts of hair out, turned into our problem. That's not also something that I can deal with with 4 kids. So, and then I would be a jerk and insensitive, and there was probably times where I probably was one, where it then gets pawned off on somebody else who's a viewer and who's a fan, or who's a person who's my friend, and then they get, they have to deal with it. I don't want to pawn off nasty stuff on other people, but I also can't handle it when you have thousands of people all, having these kind of community things. There's got to be structure. It would be awesome if like 50 people stepped out from every state and said, I'm qualified. I'm a college qualified thing. I'm going to volunteer and do it for free, and I'll get all this stuff going. That would be awesome. But that's probably not going to happen. But if there are a few of you out there in a few of the states, you do you, and we'll see how it goes, and you can tell us how you're doing. But I would love to do something bigger, and that was my motto. Be a part of something bigger. I really do believe that we could. And starting today, I think we should change our minds about certain things. I think we should change things up. I think that we shouldn't be so concreted into what's going on. And I need your guys' help. Help us make this something good. I would love to have 5 reporters, people that are in every city, reporting on the crazy crackheads in the street. If you have video of that, I've told you guys this before. The difference is right now, it's up to you. It's not on my side. It's on your guys' side. Go out and take videos, post it to us. We paid for a service to have you guys send in tips and videos and all of this stuff. Barely anybody used it. So again, if we put it out there, utilize it. Bring people in. Take your effort. Nobody else is going to do it. People that don't vote and say, oh, well, everybody else is going to do it. I mean, my vote's not going to change anything. Yes, it will. Not with that, but with this, one person can do a lot. I miss one of our, Jay Stone, if you guys remember her. She did a phenomenal amount of things. Lisa R. Hall. I miss these people. They're not, they're still friends, but they've moved on. There are people like that out there right now. If you are one of those people, help us out. Because this shouldn't just be some sort of YouTuber. This should be a community and a headquarters. So, not for anything bad, for just preparing for what we believe is going to happen. If you don't believe it, stick around longer. I bet you will. And it's not going to be, I told you so, that anybody wants to tell, because we're not going to be able to communicate with you to tell you. Amarillo Gunrunners, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you. Michael Coslow, Scenic Adventures. Please, no call. You worked hard. That was trouble. I miss calls every show. You didn't know what you were going to get. It was a mystery. You could get a contractor type guy, whistleblower, UFO whistleblower, or you could get a woman with a crazy cat story. It was fun, but it was a lot of trouble. Joshua Mays, thank you. Don't trust anything you see on September 24th. Yeah, that trumpet thing. We're going to cover it as it gets closer. Julia Withers, I've followed you since Discord days. Thank you so much for being here still. Kurt Barksdale, thank you so much for the support. Ray the Way. Thank you guys for all doing it. You didn't have to do that, but we appreciate it. Years ago, I told my friend that if they change our PT standards here in the Air Force to near Army standards, we are going to war. Nobody believed me until this year. Dex, physical training standards. So is that what he's saying, Dex? Or physical PT standards? Is that physical training standards? Or what is PT?
Yeah.
In the Air Force to near Army standards, we are going to war. So what he's saying is that if the Air Force pilots and people like that are doing the stringent exercise, all of the stuff that the Army is, I think that's what he means. Is that right? That's probably a sign that something bigger is happening.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah. Good point, Ray the Way. I actually agree with that. Boring Hornet, Jesus loves us and he washed away all my sins. Boring Hornet, nice to see you. Turtlecraft Studio, they used Kirk to, and this is what somebody else is saying, create a discourse to remove First Amendment rights. That's why we have Kimmel and others too. I don't want to use the H word. I do not like Kimmel the most I've ever unliked somebody. But I'm on Kimmel's side on this. He made a comment about what the political values of that guy was. He's a DICK. He's disgusting. But how can you take a show off because of that? That, I think, is one of the first things where I actually look at both sides. I agree with CNN for once. And I agree with Kimmel. And
isn't it a business decision?
Well, it's Nexstar, right?
I mean, it's a business decision.
But he has a contract. He's going to sue. He's going to win.
Like when the people at Office Depot didn't print the thing and they make a big hubbub out of it, what does Office Depot do? They fire the people. It's a business decision. Because if they didn't, it would harm their business. So they did the right thing for their business. In this case, this guy has low ratings already. He's barely hanging in there. Yeah, right. He hasn't had good ratings. He's been needed to be replaced, but he hasn't. And the Nexstar, which is the largest television owner in America, which has the most number of television stations of ABC, called up and said, we are usurping his show. We were going to replace his show with something else during that time slot, which means ABC will lose all that revenue dollars from the largest television ownership across America. That will cost them in their pocket. So they have to either say, well, we're willing to lose that money, or we just say, we'll put somebody else on the air because then we'll get all those television stations back and we can make ad dollars. So it's a business decision at the end of the day.
Okay, but
I think the FCC part of it
I think they have an angle here, though, because of the president's direct comments, and he publicly out loud said that, there was another instance where it was essentially the government leaning on, I think it was school. There was another instance where, yeah, technically it was a privately owned school and it's a business, but where government, and then like Twitter. So say Twitter, I think that there's a tie here. How Twitter was being leaned on to curtail free speech. He said but here's the thing. Going to the argument of what they said, by the time he did his show and he was live, everybody knew that this guy was not a supporter of our president. So there was some sort of loophole in his contract or something. He can basically say everything except for the 7 bad, horrible words, right? That you can't say on TV. This is the angle that they're going with, and they're going with a huge lawsuit. But will he get back on TV? Colbert was taken off for other reasons, but he ended up getting his own show, or is it on YouTube? I've never seen the Colbert show ever.
But those, again, are business decisions because they weren't making ratings. Like, they weren't making money on the show, so they can't. They move on because the audience is not really there. If the audience falters and they can't make ad dollars and they can easily replace that time slot with another show that makes more ad dollars, they will.
Well, why did he do it publicly? If a company, because there's a lot of people getting fired from regular jobs because they made horrible posts on...
No, what do you mean publicly?
There's some sort of connection, isn't there? They found that he was pressing on the FCC and the FCC was pressing on them. And then called out after he made the comments, they were saying that something has to be done with him. His show needs to be off, right? That he publicly said that he needs to be canceled.
Trump has said numerous things in the past, but doesn't ever follow through with them. And the threat of the FCC has been a statement about if licensed broadcasting companies are putting out misinformation or are fomenting violence or doing something that would be considered illegal, then the FCC should look at the licensing.
Well, if he said
should pull that,
but he didn't say something.
But the FCC didn't do anything to ABC to get Jimmy Kimmel fired. Period. It didn't happen. It was Nexstar and it was ABC's decision. Actually, Disney's decision. Disney did it. The same Disney that pulled Gina Carrera, the same Disney that canceled everyone else. I mean, you can go back for the last 5 years. Everyone else has been canceled for various reasons. And they're business decisions. They all are.
So
sometimes they make them because they have ideological decisions behind them, whether it's, what the executives want to believe in or what narrative they want to push, but they're business decisions.
Well, they blamed tornadoes, or they blamed hurricanes on Trump during his last term. They said, "Oh, it's because of this and this and that this tornado was." Everything could be attributed to him. But in this case, I believe I saw stuff that he was publicly calling for his show to be canceled. Then all of a sudden, and he said, we might have to have... I thought he said something, and I might be wrong. Maybe the left media that I read, or at least that piece, because I read both sides, and I was like thinking that he said, well, maybe the FCC needs to do this and made a comment. Then all of a sudden, the FCC presses down on Nexstar cans him. If they just canned him for making insensitive comments, but he didn't talk about Kirk himself. He basically said that the guy that took his life was on the right. That's even if he knew he was on the left.
He was making fun of the right, saying that he wasn't on it, insinuating that he was. And then he went on to play a clip of Trump and called him this is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish or something like that. And it was super insensitive.
Okay, I didn't see that part.
It had absolutely nothing to do with the news. Okay, if a news media organization is putting out false information or other things like that, that's, I think, the grounds.
Is he news?
No, he's commentary. He can do whatever he wants. He's no different than David Letterman, who trashed every president the whole time he was been on the air. I mean, it's normal. They do it, and it's okay. But again, I think everybody's getting hung up on this. This was
what was the crime? What was the crime he committed, though? He said that the guy he might have been uncouth.
The crime he committed was Nexstar, who owns all those television stations, thought it was super insensitive, and they didn't want to have anything to do with them, and they didn't want to put that out to their audience because a business decision on their end was they thought they were going to lose their own viewerships. And you got to understand, Nexstar has a portion of that advertising dollars. At the local, every time you watch a set of commercials in a break, certain percentage of those commercials are nationwide commercials, and another percentage are localized commercials that the local television broker owns. Nexstar, which has a large number of television stations across America, has all those ad dollars to think about as well. They have probably been noticing those ad dollars but it is what it is. They came out publicly and said, we do not want this show on, and what we will do is we will usurp it and put something else in its place. They even went so far as to say they were going to run a Charlie Kirk special to highlight him during that same time slot, because they thought it was so insensitive and they didn't think it was right for their audience and they didn't want to have a part in it. They own the largest number of television stations that produces those nationwide ad dollars that ABC needed. So it was a hit to ABC.
But he's been doing stuff horrible like that for years. And it depends. For me, it depends on how directly President Trump pushed on it. Because I'm not a usurper, but I say this: when the president does stuff that I disagree with, I will call it out. I'm not going to be dishonest and say I love him and yeah, I don't agree with that, but I love him anyways. If, like, you know, when he said take the guns and go to court later to get it back, or it was a gun law thing that basically the red flag law or whatever it was, and it was like, take the gun first, and then they have 7 days to get their guns back and to prove they're not crazy. So if any neighbor says you're nuts, then they can legally come in and grab your weapon, and then you have the duty to prove you're not crazy and get it back. That's bullshit. So that was one big thing, that because, you know, the Second Amendment, you do not tread on that, like, at all. You can't. Or the First Amendment. And this, depending on what he actually did, like if he said we're going to make it hard at FCC for Nexstar or whatever, then it would be something that I wouldn't agree with. But if they were just deciding he's an insensitive prick, and like all of those other Starbucks workers that did something thinking there was no consequences when everybody else sees a person that passed away. Doesn't matter if they're political views. You don't go to if somebody passes away and there's a vigil, you don't just, well, they literally did. So one guy ran up and kicked all the candles at a vigil. Who does that? For anybody. It doesn't matter how much you hate him. They hate him as much as they hate Trump because he's attached. It's like this just anger, and I know there's a lot of you that don't like him, and I understand that. But to be just like bull in a china shop, or horse with binders.
And if that person that did that was a representative of your company, would you even keep them employed, or
no.
would you fire them? Exactly. So, you know, in this case, Kimmel's words were kicking the candles at the vigil, and, you know, Nexstar, not with any pressure from the FCC, because they did not pressure Nexstar, said, we're not having that. And ABC said, well, that's the straw that broke the camel's back. We're just have to can them, you know?
So then the regular news is lying.
Business.
They're
everybody is making hubbub over it as much as they possibly can because it's a great narrative. But look, at the end of the day, the FCC should not be telling a news comment, or not even news, a commentary show, what they can and can't do outside of the rules that are already in the FCC. If they want to talk, you know, if they want to say how much they dislike Trump, or they want to make cartoons about Trump and the devil like they do on South Park, they should have a right to do that. What they don't have a right to do is tell people to do violent acts. What they don't have a right to do is to say they're a news organization, which Kimmel's not, and report false information intentionally to change the narrative, right? And I think those are the things that the FCC would go after. But look, in the past, business decisions were made to fire Roseanne Barr. Business decisions were made to fire, you know, lots of different people for their beliefs or the statements that they made that might not have been representative of that time and that company and what the business wanted.
I get it, Dick, but the thing is, I just didn't watch a show. I haven't watched that show in 7 or 8, I don't even know, a decade. I don't think it's funny, and honestly, even if I didn't like the president, it's like this would get old. Like it would be like a caveman. Like, I tell jokes about Wall. You come. I've got another joke about Wall, and then the next day, you see this wall? I've got jokes about the wall. It would be like a comedian that only tells one kind of joke. I mean, that's literally what it is.
It wouldn't
95% of his monologues.
It wouldn't surprise me, Adam, if the executives at ABC were actually thankful that this happened, because it gave them the opportunity to can him, which they wanted to do. In my opinion, I think they have wanted to, because he has not had good ratings.
He shows tank.
And he doesn't have a good show. Like, it's not even entertaining. I don't mind watching a good ribbing against the current president, or even if it's the one I voted for or not. I don't mind that. Most people don't, as long as it's done tastefully, and it can even be negatively, as long as it's not, over the top, extreme. And I think he was, and people just didn't like it. The only people that liked it were the extremes. And I don't think the executives even cared for that. They were dying for this opportunity to can him.
All right, I want to go. There's DuckDuckGo and Google. I looked up the same exact keywords. I just wanted to see if there was different news as far as how they're covering it. Fox News, the first story is Waters, I don't think Kimmel should be fired. USA Today, Jon Stewart, more late-night TV hosts address Jimmy Kimmel's suspension. 4 things to know about ABC's suspension. If you look at any one of these, I bet you that ABC's decision to pull Jimmy Kimmel's show has echoes and contrasts of Roseanne. Why Roseanne? Oh, well, I guess that actually makes sense. That's not that's accurate. The people, because everybody should be pissed off at him for what he did. Disney pulled Jimmy Kimmel as pressure built on multiple fronts. That's New York Times. Jimmy Kimmel suspended after Charlie Kirk comments. But look at how they covered, though. And I've read about 5 of these now on both sides. And the other side, the Fox side, it felt like they were saying that the president had something to do with it, too. If he directly made it happen in any way, even if it was unconnected, I don't personally agree with that, because, first of all, that is scary. When government or a guy, whether you like the guy 1,000 times as much as you like anybody else, if they can put pressure on somebody to get them off air when they have an audience. Think about it from my perspective. If I say the wrong thing tonight, tomorrow somebody can just say, oh, well, you're done forever. Not like suspended, not like, oh, come back in a week or pay a fine. You're just done at this thing forever. That's what we've been kind of afraid of for the last 5 years. So to see that happen, I guess I can walk in the man's shoes for a second. I hate it, and I bet they smell like Gouda.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing, I just saw this comment, and I was telling this to my friends and family today, from Bailey. I think it's Bailey. I'm sorry. First Amendment protects citizens from their government, not from their private employers. So yeah, that's right. First Amendment gives you the right to that free speech on the street corner. It means you can say it and not get arrested, but it doesn't mean that you can say it on television and not get fired, because again, it's a business decision. It doesn't mean you can say it in Starbucks and they not can you or reprimand you for not writing Charlie's name on the cups, which, by the way, they can do that now. Starbucks had to come out and clarify. I don't know if you guys heard that story, but just like the Office Depot one we covered, there was a story that they went in to order his favorite drink from Starbucks, and they wanted to have his name written on it, on the cup, in honor of him, and they would say no. Well, now Starbucks came out and said no, they have to, and it's okay to put people's names on it, including Charlie Kirk's name.
You know what I've noticed is all the left-leaning media outlets are not saying that extra part. Not one of them has had the extra part where he played a video of this is how goldfish mourn. Like that already just sounds insulting, extremely insulting. And even if you're making fun of Donald, he is, because he's crying about Charlie Kirk, a young man with a family that just got cut down in his prime.
Yeah, he took a clip of Trump. So there's numerous clips of Trump where they've asked him what he thought, and he's given heartfelt, this about Charlie Kirk. He was my friend. Charlie Kirk, it's a shame. It's sad. His family, his wife, et cetera, et cetera. There was one time under the choppers with the thud of the chopper, Marine One out in the lawn, where you can barely hear anything. And he's taking some questions, and the guy says, how are you doing? And I'm sure all he heard is, how are you doing? And he went on to say with the Charlie Kirk thing. And Trump said, very well, or I'm doing good, or something to that effect. And then he said, oh, by the way, look over here. We've been doing the construction since you guys are standing out here. Look at the construction of the ballroom on the side. So Kimmel took that one clip and said that was what Trump's response was to Charlie Kirk. Not which was completely insensitive to the fact that he only said like 100 other things up until that time. So that was that. And then he turned around and said, that is like a 4-year-old mourning a goldfish.
What I don't get is how they have a whole team that just sit there all day watching him and make jokes out of that for a monologue. Because somebody actually went through and supposedly did the math. 95% in years and years, every night, or is he 5 days a week, whatever it is. I know how many hours I've put in. Imagine if every single day I told you essentially a story insulting that man when he was president and when he wasn't. 95%, that means the 4 years he wasn't president, he's still talking about him. And that's why they came up with the derangement syndrome. I don't know if it's derangement, but I think it's obsession. I think it's hatred, so deep hatred that because Charlie was attached, he got that too. Charlie by himself, they say, oh, he said this about that. He was in a public setting under a tent, letting people debate. That's his freaking opinion. That's as American as it gets. People are allowed to have opinions, just like the guy on the other side is able to wear a dress, wear makeup, go get fake boobs, cut off their thing. That's their right. His right is on the opposite side. I mean, are they trying to sit on the other side and say, no, we're the right side, everybody needs to do this? No, of course not. And they're not even putting the idea of that out. They're not saying you have to be a cross-dresser or anything like that. He's not saying that either. He's sharing his view and why he believes it. That's debate. We had this 10 or 15 years ago. So I'm not I don't just like blindly follow. Like, I've seen things in this current presidency I'm worried about, right? But as far as, this whole thing, it's just, the whole thing's spiraling. It's horrible. People can't talk anymore. And that's why I believe the whole foreign nations makes a whole lot more sense. That this is manufactured. That there are bots and things. Because where I'm seeing it is online. When I talk to people, I've talked to several people in the last couple of days. There were a couple of people that didn't know Charlie Kirk perished. Even though it's all over the news, people that aren't sitting there every second watching it. And a lot of people don't have Twitter or they didn't see the actual video of it. The people that are really bothered by this saw that video, especially that high def one of it happening. It was disturbing. It burned into your brain. And it had the right effect. People talk about it. People go, no, you got to see this. And somebody made a great point. Why the hell every other video like this has been scrubbed from the internet, censored? Why is that one there? It does cause a lot of rife. It's causing people to get up in arms. And I'm okay with it. I think all videos should be, especially things like assassinations and things like that. We should be able to see it. If it was videotaped the first time, we should see it every time. But why? Every other one they took down, they literally shut down all of YouTube for the New Zealand thing. If that's a crime of such a graphic nature, okay, we're adults, give you a warning, and then let us see it. With this, they're letting us see it over and over and over again. And, I get it, it's Twitter, but other platforms are showing it. Uncensored.
Yeah, but they won't show us the CCTV footage from the campus.
Yeah, the CCTV of them changing in a couple seconds, and the camera, people went there and they saw that it could see the angle where he took the pop thing from, right?
Yeah, the video we showed where he jumps off the building, it just shows him running for a split second behind that edge, and he ducks behind the cover and runs around the edge of the corner, and then climbs down. All they had to do was show us about 5 seconds more of that video in the front end of it, and we would actually see where he was allegedly perched. It's in the frame. It's there. They just chose not to release that. They chose to edit it so that we couldn't see it. So why not show us? Why not let us see him in a prone position, get up and run?
And most people are, there's so many things. We got to get into the rest. And we're just going to fly through this. We're going to hit the very important stuff. We're going to cover everything, but most likely headlines. But honestly, I would like doing more shows like this then, I would like more conversations like this. Ireland's government tells us everything's just fine. So I just saw all of the stuff about Ireland. Dex, did you hear about the stuff? Do we have anything about Ireland? We don't have it. I decided, so the Ireland thing too, right? We'll see where that goes. Because we will cover it if it doesn't end up happening, because I don't believe it happened yet. But they're deciding certain things with Israel. We'll cover it when I have more information. I'm not going to paraphrase because we got a lot to cover already. Turtlecraft Studio. I think they're just weaponizing free speech. Valid point. Last Man Standing. Love the show. The came from the mic he had under his shirt. So, by the way, there's 50 different thousand views. I didn't even realize there's at least 15 or 20 different theories, completely different ones now. They have different people in the audience. Dex and me we were basically arguing about it because I do believe CIA has something where you could put it in your hand and pop somebody from 7 feet away. You said, well, he wouldn't have any aim. That made me think of like why the guy stood the way he did. You would line up your body. You would practice that a million times, and you would be able to just by eye spot where you want to go in general area, if that was the case. But they have these small weapons. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that's fine. But there's theories that maybe it came from somewhere else. Not going to go into it. But what I will say is there's so many different theories now, I cannot believe it. Half of the theories involve him being alive and that it was makeup and fake stuff and whatever else. I always wonder when I see stuff like that, and if they do have a prominent family and stuff, has stuff like that happened before? I'm sure it has. Is it like a witness protection program? Did they go to New Zealand and get some facial surgery and live out the rest of their life because they're promised millions of dollars? And then do they just ditch their family?
Would you do that? Like, is it what would cause an individual to actually do that?
Trillions of dollars, I guess.
Yeah, but what's trillions of dollars worth if you can't do anything with it?
Well,
if you don't
if
have
you couldn't
your family
see your
with
kids, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like that logic. When you just apply logic to some of those things, it doesn't make sense. It seems like it's cheaper and easier just to, if that's what they want, then why wouldn't they just take the person out? Why spend the money?
By the way, my wife always brings me dinner out here. I usually show you. I mute and eat it, bite as I can. Ray the Way, thank you. Thank you, Miss Marf. And then Trump suggests U.S. troops could return to the base in Afghanistan. We covered that, which just I want to point out again, that is people aren't recognizing. Pakistan pushes for Islamic NATO. What's in it for India? And any of you can pop into chat before I say it. Do any of you remember what I have said about India for years and my side theory that what they might do in the future? If you watch enough, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If not, I'll say it in 2 seconds. But I believe they might be on the wrong side. They might, they're supposed to be an ally of ours. They're supposed to be an ally of this. They're an ally of Russia. What if you have two countries with 1.4 billion people, massive armies, and nukes team up? Maybe there's a dollar sign or some sort of seat at the table big enough that would make India go, you know what, we're going to be on the other side. Maybe they're convinced that China's not this horrible dictatorship and they could be their own country. China's not going to interfere with them, all of this. Mind you, China controls a lot of the power in Pakistan, their enemy, controls a lot of things. A lot of the power grid comes, I think, into their country even. So they've had all these arguments lately about leverage. They have a fight. They are enemies. Now they're working together. Not just the presidents, the countries. They've been fighting over the Himalayas. They don't even have a border. And yet now they're standing next to each other, shaking hands, meeting up. Reminds me a lot of Xi, Putin, and Kim Jong-un. The only thing is they missed that one meeting, but India has been there the whole time. I told you guys years ago, they were drilling with Russia and China next to it. Their mortal enemies, they just threw 20 people off a cliff, soldiers fighting soldiers in the Himalayas. They didn't have weapons, so they threw each other off of the cliff. And you're telling me that happens. At one point, I remember they removed all of the temporary housing along the border of the Himalayas. And I said, that's really weird on both sides. Like they just had some sort of secret meeting and said, you know what, we're good now. And then that's when they started drilling. They drilled with Russia and they drilled with China next to it. Could you imagine that? Those three countries teaming up, and would they tell us now about it? No, because then the U.S. and CIA and they would all go full bore into it. The public would be calling for it. Everybody would be calling for us to do something about it. Oh, I wonder. India just got a fat tariff for spending money with Russia. India should morally know that they're supporting this war and essentially continuing this whole thing. They do. And so does China. They're funding this because they are all pooling their money. They're going to try to take the U.S. out. That's what's happening. They're coordinating. So yeah, this Islamic NATO is another thing. Like Dex, you actually had a better way to articulate this. Do you want to go over why this is super important with the NATO, Islamic NATO?
Well, I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's about up to 40. They said that there was 40 Muslim countries in Doha that were meeting. They're talking about an Islamic NATO. They want it to be when one country is struck, then they all, just like Article 5 of NATO, they want to have a similar response against Israel or anybody that would strike. It could be India into Pakistan, for that matter. Pakistan wanting to push for it. They're the only nuclear force of the Muslim countries.
Yeah, and great comment. Ray the Way says, I've never trusted India. I knew they flip, especially after the Pakistan conflict. Well, so just the most recent one. They've been in conflicts all over. I want to go to X real quick. Show you this. Look at this. I'll show you, Grok. And Dex, if you have to go to sleep because you have to wake up early, feel free. I can finish part of the show by myself if you have to. Okay. What was it? Can you summarize the most recent terror attack in India, and was J.P. Vance there? So crazy. In the most recent major T attack in India, as of September 18th, 2025, is the 2025 Pahalgam attack, which occurred on April 22nd, 2025. This was 5 months ago, near Pahalgam in the Anantnag district of Indian administrative thing. I'm not going to go into the thing. They said that an offshoot of Pakistan-based Lashkar-e-Taiba ambushed a group of tourists, primarily targeting Hindus by checking names, reciting Islamic phrases, and verifying circumcision. No joke. The attack took the lives of 26. 25 Hindu tourists, 1 Christian tourist, and 1 local Muslim. Injured several others. It was the worst situation. The assault triggered a severe India-Pakistan crisis. This was as J.P. Vance is there. J.P. Vance is visiting India talking about the Made in India program. Made in India was supposed to be this threat to China. And I'm wondering about my own theories now. After looking into the research of how so far behind they are of China, they can never, it will take a decade at least for them to start trying to even think about replacing China. It might take 20 years. China has been setting up the infrastructure for 40 years for this massive 25-lane highways in and out of certain places so they can do this, to manufacture like they do. It looked like, and this is what it looked like, is JP Vance is there basically saying, America, this is the same point. We have 150% tariffs on China. We're now going over to the ex-girlfriend and going, hey, how about we get back together? The girl's like, whoa, what are you doing? We're talking to my, talking to your ex. Something like that. I'm trying to make this as simple as possible. I'm not. All of a sudden, this attack happens while he's there. Immediately, they go and attack Pakistan. They bring in jets. They bomb. The president comes out and says, I've got information you need to know now. That's all they tell us. They give it to Pakistan. And again, the first day, Pakistan defense minister, they asked him questions. They're like, did you do this? Did you send these guys? Did you fund this? He legitimately looked like he didn't know what the hell happened. He's like, no, I don't. I don't know what happened. No. If you watch that video and if you don't have intuition that tells you that they might not know, that's what told me some third party did this to try to make them fight, to try to get them to go at it. Pakistan's attached to China. China literally controls most of their grid. So they can hold that over them. They can turn their power off if they want. But when this happened, the president gave them information. Right away it stops. But we never found out exactly why it stopped. I think he said, hey, we've got information, we've got receipts that China did this, or that this somehow tracks back to China. The reason this is important, this falls into the greater scheme of the entire world. Of all of these events you think are unconnected, seemingly are. It's very scary stuff. Ray the Way, ABC just wanted Kimmel gone, liability gone now. I get you. No, I think as a business, that's just messed up to do in general, instead of just saying we don't like you. The last man standing again, thank you. Nacho Man, Randy Sandwich, thank you for hitting 10 months as a member. Says, Ireland's government tells us everything's fine. Thank you so much. All right. And then Venezuela starts days of military and electronic warfare drills after U.S. strikes on alleged drug boats. So now Venezuela says that it began 3 days of military exercise on its Caribbean island of La Orchilla. Forces deployed for what Washington called an anti-drug operation, which not many people believe, have blown up at least 2 Venezuelan boats and a combined 14 people allegedly transporting stuff across the Caribbean this month. You know what's crazy, Dex? What if they were doing this and they only found 2 or 3 and they just bring so much, like hundreds and hundreds of pounds or tons, and unload that, and that is enough to just fill entire city. I mean, Fenny, the bad stuff, and I don't know if that's in these boats too. I know the cocaine and other stuff.
Yeah, they said it was.
Yeah, so a big boat, that's crazy. That's enough for the whole country. So I wonder if it's realistic that we could actually cut this out, right? And if you haven't been to a Walmart with 11 people, falling over a head inch from the concrete but not falling over, if that could cut that out, I would support it. But I don't think that's what it is. Venezuela's tied to Russia. It's tied to the whole World War agenda. They know that they're combining. They've said it out loud. Mark Rutte literally said all of these smaller guys will distract. Well, Russia does this, and then China will take Taiwan. They all get their goals. They've split the American military, and they all get the resources that they need. Most likely, their Navy is minerals.
The odd thing in this particular case, Adam, is Venezuela is not being the aggressor here. The U.S. is. Venezuela is not starting something with the U.S. The U.S. is starting something with Venezuela. So Venezuela is not creating a distraction. We're creating our own, or bifurcation, or whatever you want to call it, right?
Did something just trigger Trump?
I get it that they want to use that. They're using the narco terror example as the reason to go in, but it's more than likely it is regime change that is what is on the mind of the power brokers of the U.S., including the president and the prior presidents and everybody else before. They don't want Maduro there. They want somebody else.
They need a puppet.
They want to get to the oil. They want to get to the businesses of America, want to get to the oil in a bigger way than they have already. which they've only got a very little amount.
You know what's crazy? There was predictive programming. Did you guys see that new John Cena movie? Probably not. Some of you are like, no, I'll never watch it. After his groveling apology to Xi Jinping. I still like John Cena. I'll admit it. I don't know why. I just like his dummy. I like John Cena. I'm not a wrestling fan. Didn't watch it as a kid, but I had friends that were diehard. I think he's just funny. And I don't care about his political views or that he got on his knees to Xi Jinping. That movie was this plot. I know, Dex, you haven't had time. You barely get to watch anything, and when you do, it's usually something we've both watched or something. But what is that movie called? Can anybody put it in the chat? And Dex, I actually thought it was an entertaining movie. So if you guys do put that movie in there, Dex, you could download it and watch it. But it's this plot. I think predictive programming, some people put too much weight into it, but it is very eerie how that just came out. And then all of a sudden, we're essentially doing that plot. It was a Maduro-like character in that movie, and they were trying to do a coup and take him out. And it was the U.S. government trying to take him out because he actually wanted a free country. You go in there thinking he's a dictator, but he's actually a good guy, and he does care about his country. This is not Maduro. This is the movie. And this guy who's a dictator actually cares about his people. Sorry. And it's because the U.S. or others want the minerals and the stuff for the phones and the batteries. And he wants to keep it in the country and have his country prosper. Is that not eerily similar to what the hell's happening? And this is a month before any talk of going down there with destroyers. I just think that's weird. And a lot of people online have done videos on it and said, it's like they want you to know, or they want you to know what they're doing. It's hard not to see it like that. When you have so many of these coincidences and weird things happen. Now, before we move on, make sure to go check out Energy. All of our affiliates are things we believe in, we use. Right now, my energy's in the garage. In fact, the reason you don't see it in my background like some people do, and I don't blame them from doing it, is because I'm using it. I don't have, I saved up and got a single battery, but this was something too. Like, I basically worked selling them to get my own so I could have one. This thing is absolutely a beast of a solar generator. I believe in it. I believe it can fall off the back of a truck. They're made to freaking fall off a Humvee. They're built like things used to be built. They're front loaded so you know that China's not going to hack it, or Russia or any other country. And they're modular and they expand. If you really do want one of the best portable generators out there, I would highly recommend, just like, if you have a cough, don't go to Google to see what's wrong with you. I wouldn't go look at those cheap, crappy Chinese generators. I'm telling you, it is so not worth it. And I saved $200. If you're spending $1,000, $1,400, $1,500, $1,600, but the other one's $2,800. Would you want to spend $2,000? This is not $2,800. If you want to spend $2,000 or $1,500 on something that lasts 80 years, or would you want to spend $200 less for something that lasts a year? Why would you do that? You've just now spent all that money and it breaks right away. It gets turned off during a disaster. If we get invaded, they can just literally hook up to it and turn it off. And if you don't believe me, that is exactly what is being accused of some of these things. Even those companies that have America on them, half of them are. This is not their prescribed ad for this. I say what I want for these things. Who knows? Someday I might get in trouble. But I'll tell you the truth. Do not, and if you have one of those Amazon things, I would say take care of it. Try to do whatever you need to do to keep it in the right temperature, because, it's not going to last as long as something like this. This is an absolute beast of a thing. Go over and check it out. marfugglenews.com/energy. We would have been selling these for the last 2 years. They stopped selling them. The buy now button disappeared, and that's because they just got that. They had the Army contract, and they focused on their Army contracts. They have a small batch now. The people that do end up seeing it and getting it, you're going to get it right away. You don't have to wait 7 months like some Fugel family members did with the Flex original. This is the tactical steel reinforced beams, heater built in, everything. This thing's badass. Go check it out. marfoogle.com/energy. Code Marfoogle. And then China's defense minister renews threats to take over Taiwan at a security forum. I mean, I feel like most of you really don't even, like, you see a headline, normal people should see this kind of thing, but we all know they're going to take, Dex, we all know that China's going to take it. But
yeah, it's just more rhetoric to exactly what we know. They want it. They're going to take it. They've said it before. They're saying it again. They're reiterating it.
Yeah, the defense minister renews threats to take over China. It says China's defense minister renewed threats that his country would take over self-ruled Taiwan as he opened a security forum in Beijing. It says, quote, the restoration of Taiwan to China is an integral part of the post-war international order. And I think it's interesting, Dex, he used those words. Post-war international order. The post-war international order is exactly what you see here today. NATO, U.S., the Axis, whatever it is, he's basically, they're saying that they're shifting the world order. They are going to absorb that. They're going to absorb that ocean. They built physical islands and set up cities on them. The Paracel Islands have full-on, they've had people living on them for 3 years. Another thing that I was able to call, and I'm an idiot, right when they started dredging sand before there was ever a single human sign on those islands, I said, they're making a forward operating base. What are they now? SAM missile, Navy bases, barracks, everything you can think of is in the Paracel Islands, which they made from scratch with special dredgers that suck up the dirt and then pile it up until it's an island. They smack it down, they put an airfield on it, and they call it a base. People live there, there's homes, there's residential, there's everything. Now they have a claim to that part of the ocean. We talked about this when it first started. Does that mean they can do it anywhere? Well, guess what they're doing? About 4 or 5 months ago, or no, this is probably a year ago, they have now doubled the money they are spending and researching to make a dredger that's twice as efficient. A specialized thing just for making those island forward operating bases. They have just loaded up their coastline. East coastline, loading it up. 6 new bases now. I think it's 8 now. That was just covered last week. Fully loaded, fully stocked up. Vehicles are piling up at the freaking wall. This is coming soon. And 6 months, 9 months down the road, that might seem like far. Time is going to fly. I mean, look at how fast the years have gone by. 6-9 months, that's my guess. If not, maybe a year. Maybe to this point next year would be what was going on. So yeah, they're taking Taiwan. And I think we are witnessing the pre-plan of it. We are living the pre-plan. And who knows, these words might sound really dumb in the future, or you might be able to go back to this show and go, holy crap, our community had it before it happened. And then Russian-Chinese warship increase their haul in and near Japan. Dex, can you cover this real quick?
So Japan tracked several Russian and Chinese warships sailing on separate voyages near the Japanese waters over the last week and tracked Chinese unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, and Chinese maritime patrol aircraft, MPAs, operating around its southwest region on Monday. Among the ships tracked were Russian Navy Pacific Fleet detachments on a patriotic tour of the Russian Far East, and it was returning to its home in Vladivostok. And then Japan's Joint Staff Office said on Tuesday the Russian Navy destroyer RSF Admiral Pentelev corvette RFS Shorveni, I don't know why I'm trying to pronounce these names, an amphibious tank landing ship, and a sweeper were also sighted sailing west in the area about 18 miles north of the Cape Soya. So it's, not uncommon to hear about China, but there's seems to be a lot more of both China and Russia being combined together in these regions that are close to Japan, and Japan is starting to track them. So obviously these are areas that they have to flow through to get to Russia, but it's, below South Korea, north of Japan, and heading to the north towards the Arctic, heading up towards Russia.
Oh my gosh. Dex, I always think I have like maybe 10 more seconds. I like perfectly took a bite, of course. The last like 8 times. Okay. Sorry, my wife's my wife's dinner get cold. You go, oh, why are you eating on your show? I eat every night on my show because my show, unfortunately, is timed with my family dinner. Okay. And you guys just never knew, and I just hit it. Okay. Somebody said a really good comment here. Oh, somebody said, yeah, Marf has talked about it for a very long time. I don't know if somebody was doubt, but you can go to our website. 2025 was actually different. There was the solar peak. There was all of these things that lined up. I've talked about 2027 for years now, and you can actually go through our website and actually find all of those shows, because a lot of them I put in the title, and these can't really. The title should be changed. A lot of the stuff. This is, there's metadata. You can go back way back machine and see this stuff. I was trying to find one of the oldest ones. Said 2027, I think in 2021 or 2020. Some of these at least 3 years old. Major event. All of these, when you click, you can search anything. I searched, what the heck did I search? 2027 in the search bar. And it showed me all these shows. These are all shows where you've got the links down with 2027 in the title or whatever. I was trying to see. Yeah. This was at least 3 years old. Oh, yeah. Look at this. It's like you can go through our website and find all sorts of awesome stuff, including all of those other affiliates. If you do want to support them, you can. But you can go through essentially like an archive of every day. If you think a day in history, most likely we have the show in the last 6-7 years of the news from that day. Here's where the dragon's teeth. This was way back. Latvia has started installing defensive barriers. You think that they've been doing this, and every story in the last couple of weeks they've been doing more and installing more. They've been doing this for 3 years, and you think that they're not preparing for the biggest battle of our lifetimes? I don't know what to say. And then Ukraine destroys giant radio telescope used by Russian military. Dex, why was this important? And this sounds like this is a big deal. Is it?
Well, they're saying it was used. It had the potential to be used for tracking and helping in communications, specifically for the GPS functionality that Russia uses, the alternative to the American GPS. So the GLONASS satellite navigation system. But yeah, this is the RT-70 that was used to support missions to Mars and Venus and send signals to potential alien civilizations far off in, a distant galaxy. But yeah, they targeted it apparently and took it out. It actually happened last month. It's just now coming to light. 270-foot antenna dish.
Okay, now, is there anybody with other angles here? Because look, isn't it kind of weird? There's all this stuff about alien life. There's the AI Atlas. There's been this undertone with all of the serious news, with the Kirk stuff, with the war stuff. There's been this undertone of the AI Atlas and that possibly interstellar visitors are coming. Normally that sounds crazy, but you've got Harvard professors with respectable people saying, actually, you may be right. There's unexplainable things about the AI Atlas, about whatever. I'm not going to go into it. But Ukraine just destroyed one of, and there's not, if this is the same kind, I don't know how many of these are in the world. There's a few around in different countries that are exceptionally large. I feel like another country had theirs broken, but I think theirs was broken by old age, or Peru maybe. I forget which one.
Puerto Rico.
Why did they target this thing? If it's just used for alien life, searching for alien life, why did they destroy that? Radio telescope in Crimea was once used to support missions to Venus and transmit messages to potential alien life in the cosmos. Are they afraid of this being used for other communications? I don't know. I don't get why they destroyed it. Did they just destroy it because this was along the front line and they're like, that's a badass thing to blow up? I don't know. And then North Korea's Kim Jong-un oversees drone testing. Not going to get into this too much. There are so many of these pictures of him in front of things like, oh, look at me, I'm standing in front of my missile. Oh, look at me, I'm standing in front of my kennel with my killer laser dogs. I don't really care. But what I do care about is the media just loves this guy. They show everything, man. They every picture they put out, just it gets syndicated and put all. For somebody who we shouldn't like at all, the media freaking shows this guy all the time. I don't think he's the threat. Why aren't we seeing pictures of what Xi Jinping is doing on a daily basis? Just because he's made some crazier comments and he calls us dogs? Guess what? You know who else does? China. Xi Jinping hates us, dude. Why aren't they saying it? Why don't they show us what he's doing? Does anybody know what he does on a day-to-day basis? They don't show that stuff in China. What does he actually do? They have books and an app on everybody's phone that every day they can learn a little bit about Xi Jinping, sort of similar to how you would think it would be in North Korea. That's in China. And your social credit score can go up by learning or reading some of the book, or I think you can even read Xi Jinping's book, and it ups your score or it gives you points. Why do we see so many of these every other day? Unless there's an actual news story, what is it? It's him testing, in front of a picture of testing drones. I understand that this is important. Dex, I'm going to guess what I think is the important thing we would probably pull out of this, which would be that they're going to be manufacturing drones. This is going to be a manufacturing thing. It's going to be a part of the war machine, right?
Yeah, I'm sure it's probably drone technology given to them by Russia, which was given to them by Iran. So it's probably the Shahed or something similar.
Probably the Shahed 136. It's probably the less fancy one. The Duran 2, I think it is the fancier one. Make sure to go check out EMP Shield. Most of all of you have seen this, but I do highly recommend getting it. Don't sell your car to get it. It's not even expensive. Honestly, for what this thing does, there's different models. They vary, but for the price of 4 of those super fancy surge protectors for your computer desk, you can get one of these and it'll protect your whole house. You can get one for your car and your car will run. You need to get one for each vehicle, or whatever vehicle you plan on getting out in or getting home in. If you were 50 miles away from home because you've been priced out of your damn neighborhood, then I would highly recommend thinking about what are you going to do to get home. Right? Go to marfugglenews.com/EMP and make sure you use the code MARF. The code MARF gets you $50 off. That stacks on top of any sale. And, of course, you're helping us. I do highly recommend it. Even if you go around us, if you get it from somewhere else, or if you get it without the code, I highly recommend getting it. All right. And then U.S. issues security alert for Americans in France. This one, I don't know what the hell is here. So I'm gonna call it to my Fugel fam here. Give me some angles on this. What do you think that this is, if there's an actual reason for it, right? We know that there's protests. We know that there's a lot of unrest right now. France is always a hotbed. I would love to research into why. Dex, do we know, like, why is France such a hotbed? I mean, obviously you had the French Revolution in their blood. Why are they always having, like, farmers bring in freaking hay rolls into McDonald's? Like, why is France always on fire?
I don't know if you were ruled by what's his name, Macron and his wife. You might be upset too. But yeah, they're not happy with lots of things that are going on in their country. Everything from freedoms and
Retirement,
freedoms of speech, but also they're one of the largest countries of immigrants that have come in the last 4 or 5 years, however many years you want to measure, from all the displacements out of the Middle East that have come up into their country. They have more refugees, or whatever you want to call them, immigrants that have come in from those locations than any other European country. It's a significant number, and it causes that kind of change can cause lots of strife with the public there.
I just thought of something. I'm going to pull up something here. Okay. Is this not adding credence to Sarah Adams' claims in December? In December and in January, she was talking about she is an open source analyst. She is a former spook, right? So she was basically the person who does the research for the CIA, or at least that was her former position, right? People say, oh, if they're former, they're always, right? But whatever. She claims that she's getting in trouble because she gathered open source information and believes that there is a plan with at least 1,000 members in Europe and 1,000 members in the US that are going to do a coordinated thing. I'll say the thing, ATACCK, if I'm spelling that right, on both countries. We have France being warned about this by, oh my gosh, Dex, what was the story we covered about France, and what did they just tell their hospitals? I like these. How do people not see these?
Prepare for World War III?
Well, no. What did they call it? A major engagement. I don't think they said they said major engagement.
Well, it was for war with Russia, is what they said. We would call it.
I think that's what was assumed, right? They told, but what they physically can prove is the hospitals were told to prepare for a major engagement. I'll pull it up, but I won't read it. You guys can go to our website again and go to that show. France just told hospitals. Look at this. Okay, well, it says prepare for war in Europe by next year in leaked government letter. By March of 2026. By March of 2026. Holy crap. It just blows me away. It just blows me away. Years of seeing this, and it's going to finally happen, and everybody's like, oh my God, they were right the entire time. And not they, like I'm not they. We are all they, okay? All of us have been seeing this forever. I know there's a couple detractors in here, but we've known it. And now it's happening. But this is creepy. So French hospitals told to prepare for Europe next year. Now they're telling Americans in France to be aware because of violence and possible events, right? Every other time we've covered this, there was they said, oh, be aware that there's an imminent thing that's going to happen. And then there was that movie theater thing. I'm trying to find Yeah, Sarah Adams, the big attack is going to be in the U.S. and in 4 countries in Europe. Huh. In October 2024, former CIA agent Sarah Adams claimed that Al Qaeda was planning a coordinated multi-city attack for 2025. Attack is a practice attack, and the big attack is going to be in the U.S. and then in 4 countries in Europe. Shark Coast podcast recently invited Sarah Adams on the podcast to talk about her insider knowledge as a CIA targeter. She was a targeter, so she found people, I believe. Boone talk about an upcoming multi-stage attack that is planned for 2025. The attack is said to be a revenge plot for the taking out of Osama bin Laden, which is a lot bigger than, say, like the other guy that the guy that Trump took out in 2018. That guy's a big deal to Iran, but this is a big deal to the entire Al Qaeda, whatever is left of it. I don't know if it's not freaking CIA guys playing poker. Even if it is, this is also something you should be alarmed by, that we are now telling Americans abroad in France to be aware. That kind of gives you a time frame. They're like saying, hey, right now, if you're there, be aware. In 4 months, do you think people are going to look at an alert from today and go, oh, I should be careful? I don't think those alerts do like that forever. Maybe it does. The U.S. has National Guard, and under the guise of, oh, the crime is so bad, we need National Guards on our street, we are setting up National Guard in multiple cities. Is this just to have them there to prevent whatever the hell's about to happen? Some called it an October 7th type event here. There's also other countries that believe an October 7th type thing will happen there as well. South Korea is one of them. They believe that North Korea will attack them in the same fashion. Right after that, the president was impeached for declaring a martial law for 8 hours and claiming that China had infiltrated his government and it was a threat to the country and national security. That's why he did martial law. They said, you're crazy. China's not a bad guy. You're impeached. The day he was impeached officially, within an hour, 1,500 North Korean troops are on the border. Pictures of that. Think about that. Practice for a freaking 1,500 invasion in North Korea. That's another prediction I believe is going to happen. And then the new president that they insert, Puppet, says, I want to work with North Korea. I really want to make things work. Okay. They've been trying to make things work for a long time. He says he's going to get it done. Okay, buddy. Meanwhile, the old president, impeached for declaring martial law for 8 hours. And they didn't say it was crazy. They just said it was irresponsible or something. I don't know. Maybe they did. That is creepy, though. So these are the signs that I didn't even see this until tonight, but I believe that's pretty obvious. Donald Trump's helicopter forced to make an emergency landing in the UK, which is nuts. Yesterday we covered this. Yesterday it was a Spirit's 1300 flight that was heading towards Air Force One. Now he's on Marine One the next day, and there's an issue with the helicopter and they have to make an emergency landing. I don't know if they have video of this. I don't believe they do. But if there is video of this, I would like to see it. Because was it really out of an abundance of caution and they had the hydraulic fluid low? If you're a helicopter pilot, let me know. Dex, what do you think the odds are that they would have 2 close calls with the president flying 2 days in a row? I mean, that seems kind of astronomical.
I think the odds are pretty, long on that. I mean, doesn't sound like something that happens every day, and as much, preparation goes into that. I mean, look, they had to fly that helicopter there in a, Globemaster or a C5. I mean, in another plane. They had to take an airplane just to take the helicopter there. So the fact that they were flying it with hydraulic issues, yes, things go wrong. and you can't always find everything, but you think the maintenance they do on that and the preparedness they would have for such an important vehicle, the odds that they have two issues back to back on the president, two, you know, random airborne, potential major catastrophes for him back to back 2 days in a row, kind of crazy.
I'm actually going to ask it. So people did this with that guy, the first guy that got arrested. Supposedly, I didn't have time to check this myself, so I'll just say it's loose. But they say that the guy that was first arrested has witnessed 9/11. He was there on 9/11, and I believe he was also there. Was it MLK?
No, Boston.
Boston.
Boston
the
Marathon
Boston explosion. And somebody asked, what are the odds of that guy being at all three events as a actual witness? And it was like point 0.00000 trillion, one in a freaking 0.2 billion or something. So there's things like that if you just ignore that somehow, I don't know what to say. And if you don't ignore it, then that starts unraveling other shit, and you're like, what the heck is going on here? Okay, let me say, hey, with the recent incident, pardon my French, hey, with the recent incident with the Spirit Airlines and Air Force One, and today's Marine One incident, what are the odds of this happening 2 days in a row to the president? I'm a hunter and pecker, but don't make that my nickname. Yeah, these back-to-back aviation hiccups. Spirit Airlines near miss. And of course it's Spirit. Astronomically low, like winning a bad luck lottery twice. We're talking about compound probability territory, where even rare events stack up to no levels. Okay, so the reason I'm pointing this out is because it's probably not an accident. This doesn't happen. This is like lightning striking 3 times, right? Are you guys catching on to what's going on here? Something is happening. I said yesterday that maybe his life is in danger. No, I didn't see any of the mainstream saying that. Why does it take the I consider myself pretty stupid compared to some of these Mensa guys. Why does it take us to figure out like the simplest things? Is it because the more educated and the more wise you are, the more you ignore the things that are right in front of you? I don't understand it. This is so astronomically rare. These are with the president 2 days in a row with a flying aviation hiccup. It just doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. Is he in danger? That's what my point is. And if you love the president, then pray for him. If you hate for him, I hate him. I hope you would still pray for him. And if you don't pray, I'll pray that you eventually do. All right. Dex, thank you so much for your service tonight. I know you have been kept long, and it is now 1:30 in...
Oh, yeah. 1:45. I'm good. Much love. Great job, brother.
Good night. All right, you guys. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout-out. It's a shoutro. And it is only 10:30 here, so we still got normal shoutro. Have a good night. Thank you so much. Make sure to go thank the mods. Of course, there's awesome. Thank you. Last Man Standing says is that the same comment? Okay. You'll get in an argument with Dex too. I am willing to look at the left and right thing because I thought the left and then oh no, that doesn't work. The guy on the right, I didn't think so either. I'm like, oh, he's just pulling his sleeve. But then the more you look at it, the more you're like, what the hell? That could be it too. But the whole thing just is so... We could go around this circle for months. Okay. Have a good night. And on the way out, make sure to go check out Jace. Great service. You can quickly go get a kit with all of your most commonly prescribed antibiotics. Go to marfugglenews.com/Jace and make sure to use code MARF.